Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.
Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. It's Wednesday. I'm Peter Martin. Thank you very much for joining us on the programme. Alan Ruff and Barry Ferguson are with me here in the studio. And of course, the fallout from Sunday's Old Firm game still continues, would you believe? And of course, there's a small matter of some very important games tonight in the Premiership. Lots to look forward to in the Premiership tonight. There's a full card with implications at the top and the bottom of the table too. Ruffy and Fergie are with me to discuss it all. And of course, amazingly, you know what it's like because you've played in so many Old Firm games. Sometimes the fallout from it can stretch all the way to the next week. We have Callum McGregor coming out in fighting spirit, saying, you know, quite simply that over the piece, he's defended Scott Brown. He says Rangers lacked humility on the day. Sometimes I think when it gets to the pressure games, when there's something at stake, I think some players forget that although it's very, very tough, you just have to take it in the chin, get off the park, get out of the way.
Yeah, I've been in this situation a few times myself, been in the losing side. You just need to bite your tongue and put your hand out and shake your hands. Look, as soon as that whistle went, I just wanted it straight down the tunnel and in the dressing room as quick as possible. But listen, you've got to stand tall and just put your hand out and shake their hands, and then after you do that, then it's straight down the tunnel as quick as possible.
If you were a captain, would you, on the incidents after the game, if you were a captain at the end of that game, it was potentially it wasn't a powder keg, it was more or less a last gasp chance of any hopes of closing the gap. I mean, for some people there was a title challenge earlier on in the season, which I never thought was there. But would you have got some key players that you knew couldn't screw the nut and got them down the tunnel?
Yeah, listen, I was in a few stramaches after the game myself, involved with a few Celtic players. But listen, it's part and parcel. It's a heated encounter. Obviously, Rangers disappointed; they never got anything for the game. Obviously, Celtic got the win. But the best thing to do, Peter, is listen. Just as you mentioned, hold your hand out, shake your hand, and then get down the park. There was always one or two having a dig at each other. It's part of it. It happens. You just need to go on with it. As simple as that.
I was going to say, Barry, is in defeat, is it more difficult for the players who are brought up as supporters? I'm talking about Andy Halliday. Is it more difficult to get your head round than players, obviously foreign players or players who don't know what the club's all about?
I played with plenty of foreign players that took it to heart as well. But obviously being homegrown and like myself, get brought up a Rangers supporter, it was hard to take.
Yeah.
And it was hard. I'm not going to sit here and lie. It was hard to go up and shake hands.
Yeah.
But listen, I feel
in victory as well, though, some players on the other side would have been in a similar state.
Yeah, I had a similar scenario when I won games when I was playing with Rangers. Some Celtic players ignored me. Arthur Boric walked right past me. I'll not forget that one. But listen, you just go on with it. Listen, you could turn around and start causing a bit of a riot, but listen, I just smiled and got on with it and celebrated my own fans.
Yeah, Stephen Gerrard says Celtic are playing the victim card with Brown. I think if you would, to kill it all off, as Barry said on Monday, there were some times when he looked at certain players he knew could annoy in the Celtic side, and they would go for that weak link to see if they would take the bait, go over the line, get a red card, they're off, and suddenly you've got an advantage. I mean, at the best of times, players do noise each other up, Ruffy. I'm not so sure they're playing the victim card on it, because at the end of the day, in the cold light of day, you know, two Rangers players have been posted with notice of complaint, and they're missing significant games because of their misdemeanours.
No, I think that's just a throwaway line, you know, just to support the club. I don't think Scott Brown's going to be losing sleep over anything that happened in that game. And Scott Brown is the kind of player, if you dish it out, he will take it. You know, that's if you're going to be that kind of player, you have to be able to accept it as well. And I think he showed at the game at New Year that he did accept it. You know, he knew he had a bad game. He knew the Rangers, it was one-way traffic for most of the games, and in defeat he just walked off the park. That says a lot, you know, because he's the kind of guy you would have thought would have reacted the way like Andy Halliday and the other ones did.
I mean, now we're in a situation where it's countdown to the title. Celtic could win it, depending on what happens with Rangers against Hearts tonight, and obviously at the weekend as well. You're now in a situation where Celtic have got the game at St Mirren and a chance to build on the 13-point advantage, and wonder if there's going to be a slip-up that could give them title celebrations at home to Livingston on Saturday. I
don't think there'll be a slip-up tonight. I like the response that Steven Gerrard got off his players in the second half. Listen, Celtic were dominant in the first half. I thought he got them in at half-time, and he's obviously got them together, and I thought in the second half Rangers were good. Yeah. I thought they were good for a point, Peter. I'm not just saying that. So he can take positives out, and I think they'll get a reaction tonight. I think the stadium will be bouncing. I think the Rangers fans will be behind them, and I think they'll beat Hearts tonight.
Well, eventually it's one of those nights where you start to listen to the tranny and wonder what's happening at the other grounds. As far as St Mirren against Celtic, Neil Lennon looked ahead to that match.
Well, they're a great result of the weekend, so they'll be buoyed by that, and they're fighting for their lives. And we know that, you know, 2 weeks ago we went to Dundee and we had to wait the 96th minute to win the game, so we can't take anything for granted in that aspect.
I think they're going to win comfortably, Ruffy.
I think they'll win in the end, but I think St Mirren will give them quite a hard game. It depends obviously if Celtic score and how soon they score, but if it drifts on, I think St Mirren are capable enough to make a good fist of it. But I do think Celtic will win in the end of the day. It just depends how much he shuffles the team. There was 3 or 4 there were obviously not match fit on Saturday. Remains to be seen whether he throws them in now to get that fitness.
Well, there's a wee suggestion that even Marvin Comper could make an appearance for Celtic. I don't think anybody, apart from Marvin Comper's family, have seen him over the last 6 months and beyond. So he's certainly utilising most of his squad. As far as Rangers are concerned, they're at home against Hearts with a suggestion that even Lee Wallace could make an appearance. Now that would be something, Barry.
Yeah, it would be a surprise. I know he made a cameo appearance a few months back against St Johnstone up at McDermott Park. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays him. But listen, I think with guys like Morelos obviously going to be missing 4 games. I know Ryan Kent will be playing tonight, but he'll be missing a few. I think it's now time for the other guys to step up. Like Kyle Lafferty's, Defoe's, guys like that, Defoe's, because they're 3 quality players. So they now need to step up when these guys are obviously going to be hit with suspensions. Yeah,
I don't think there's any way back for Lafferty other than moved on in the summer.
Well, he's been disappointing. I thought it was a good signing by Rangers, because obviously his form at Hearts was excellent. I thought he was Hearts' main man, scoring goals. It's just not worked out for him. But now he's got an opportunity for now until the end of the season, because Steven Gerrard's made it clear that he needs to see players that are going to be showing him that they want to be here next year.
Yep. Here's the Rangers manager looking ahead to tonight's game.
We've played them a couple of times and they've been aggressive, they've been positive, they came to Ibrox to try and win the game. It was the same when we went to Tynecastle. You know, they're a big physical team who are aggressive, and I mean that, you know, both in and out of possession. You know, they come to try and win and play, and we expect the same. We had people watch their game against Aberdeen, and you know, they've got some threats within there, and they've got a way of playing that's efficient. So we expect a good Hearts team.
When you look at the overall record, 2 defeats, 3 draws in the last 5 matches, and of course, you know, his overall win ratio, I think he needs to get a result tonight.
Not only tonight, but I think in the running, he needs to keep all the supporters on board, and a big promise next year of what he's going to do.
Okay, give us your thoughts across social media on Twitter, on Facebook, and of course YouTube as well. After the break, we'll be looking at the other fixtures tonight. Here's our quiz question. If you can't get one of Manchester United's greatest ever players, then I think you might be just a little suspect in your knowledge of football. If you do indeed know the answer, then post it on our social media channels and you could win yourself one of our team t-shirts in your team's favourite colours. So good luck with that. Here's a look at the fixtures tonight and you can see where St Mirren against Celtic and Rangers against Hearts fits into it all. There's Aberdeen, Motherwell, Hibs against Kilmarnock, Livingston, Hamilton, and also St Johnstone against Dundee. Every one of them with something to play for. Of course, St Johnstone against Dundee, they've got a fair bit of history that stretches back to the 60s. There's a wee bit a needle involved here, but I think Dundee are running out of games, Ruffy, and I've changed my mind so many times, but I think Hamilton have pulled off their Houdini act again. I can't see them going down. I think Dundee are perilously close to being either relegated or at least in the playoff.
Yeah, and this is one of these nights. It doesn't matter what your score is. As soon as you come into the dressing room, you'll be asking what all the other scores are, because that's how important it is at this stage now. But I think everybody's waiting to see if Hamilton have any reaction for that thumping they got at the weekend. If they do, then yeah, there will be another escape act. But Jim McIntyre still believes he's got players in there that can get them out of the mess they're in.
Do you think they can?
I did at the start, and then until a few weeks back. I think Jim McIntyre's a good manager, Peter. I just think I think it's going to be tough, and I don't think they're going to win tonight either. I don't think they'll finish bottom in the league, but I think they'll finish in the playoff spot.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who is going to come up from the championship, or who's coming up to play in that playoff. But I just look at them. I mean, no wins in the last 5 for Dundee. Not that St Johnstone are on any great run of form either after that spanking at the hands of Motherwell. But anyone taking Dundee tonight?
I'm going to take them for a point. I think they might be good enough, and I'm sure the players themselves will know what it will mean to go down a division. And I think that people in Dundee are already talking about Dundee United playoff place, which will be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
That was to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I must admit, I don't want to harp on about the size of the league. I'd love to see both Dundee sides in the top flight, but it's just not going to happen with the way the whole thing's structured at the moment. Suddenly, Livingston against Hamilton, suddenly Brian Rice knows that if they could get a win, there's more and more points taking them away from the bottom two.
Yep, I think Hamilton will get away with it. I think their home form will be important. I think he has made a difference, Brian Rice, but I don't think they'll win tonight. I don't. I think but with Hamilton, they always pull off big results against teams that you wouldn't expect. Like a few weeks back against Aberdeen, who would have imagined them up there and won that game? I still think they'll get out it, but they'll not win tonight against Livy.
Yeah, I think they'll get a draw tonight. I don't think Livy are actually firing on all cylinders, but obviously we know how dangerous they are with these throw-ins and corner kicks. They've got a lot of strength there, but I think Accies might get a point tonight.
In the two games we're going to talk about next, I've got to hold my hands up, Ruffy, and say that I've probably been disrespectful towards Kilmarnock, because the way they're going, despite that poor run they were on, they could finish third behind Rangers. They've got the advantage at the moment, and they go to Easter Road to take on Hibernian. Yeah,
well, I think if you're Kilmarnock with the season that you've got, you want to be in that top 6. You want to be pitting yourself against Rangers, Celtic, Aberdeen for the end of the season, and I think if they do well against some of these sides, it'll be a tremendous season for them. And if they were to get that third place, you then start talking about manager of the year
for Stevie Clarke.
If he finishes third, yeah.
Listen, they've got every chance of finishing third. And if they do, it's another fantastic season. I don't know about Manager of the Year.
It's a funny thing, but who gets it, Barry? Who gets it? I mean, it's potentially a Ross County, a Dick Campbell, or a Broth.
Well, let's not drift outside the big league.
Yeah, who gets it?
What manager in the big league gets it?
Why are you looking at me?
Well, we're looking at you for some kind of inspiration on this, because quite simply, Ruffy suggested Steve Clarke if they finish third. If Derek McInnes were to
win the cup,
and I don't know when the votes finally come in. I know obviously we've been talking about it in the last week or so. It comes up in May 5th is the night where all the managers have a vote on it.
Yeah.
So Brendan Rodgers is not going to get it. But if Derek McInnes were to lead Aberdeen past Celtic and into the Scottish Cup final, suddenly you're saying to yourself, they've been to the League Cup final, they could potentially finish third. That's a good season as well.
If you give me the scenario that Aberdeen win the Cup, then obviously it's Derek McInnes. But if he doesn't, you're running out of candidates in the top league.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you on Steve Clarke. I think he's in the top league. I think he's a good shout. With that in mind, you think they'll lose tonight at Easter Road?
Yeah, I do. I'm not going to be fooled by that Hamilton Accies score at the weekend. I thought Hamilton were poor, and they weren't on a good run before that. But I just think Hibs have got a wee bit of momentum, and they've got that Hearts game coming up quite soon, so they'll want to keep winning.
Yeah, if anything, Paul Heckingbottom, the team that he's inherited and the results that he's delivered, has actually taken a wee bit of the flack away from Leanne Dempster and Rod Petrie, because it seems like a smooth transition and nothing that they've got these wins under their belt.
Yeah, I was interested to see how he would do. Obviously, it's Neil Lennon's team, but to be fair to him, he's come up and he's done a fine job, and he has taken a bit away from Leanne Dempster. He's come up and done a good job, as I said, but not the night this game. This has got a draw written all over the top of it for me.
Yeah, okay. Yep. Aberdeen against Motherwell. Now, your nephew Lewis has come out and said, they can't just rely on potentially getting in and winning the Scottish Cup. They've got to make a move in this league, and they've got to try and finish as high as they possibly can. I'm not so sure. I just don't know what you're getting from Aberdeen at the moment. I can't work out what is happening at Pittodrie.
No, Derek will be a frustrated manager. They pull off some unbelievable results, like that space of 4 days, going down, getting a point at Celtic Park, and then obviously going and beating Rangers in the quarter-finals. And then I think the following week, it was the defeat to Hamilton, 2-0 up at Pittodrie. So they've been really inconsistent, and Derek he'll be disappointed, and he's come out after the game against Hearts at the weekend and says they need to get some consistency from now until the end of the season if they've got any chance of getting that second spot, which I don't think they will get.
Yeah, and with that in mind, and we've got to be critical about it, the reason why they're losing is they can't keep the door locked at the back, and they've elevated Scott McKenna into this great centre half. I can't quite work out, whether they've had a settled back four, week in, week out, but no matter what team he puts out, they're giving away goals.
Yeah, they certainly are, and unfortunately for McKenna, since we've all been talking him up, he's been at the centre of quite a lot of them, and not looked the £9 million player that people were going to possibly bid for, but certainly Devine was injured, Constantine's been playing back there, so that may be the excuse, but they've got enough players for midfield and up front, to win games, so it's consistency more than anything else for me. Yeah,
and suddenly I think their team and their season will be defined over the next 2 weeks, Barry, because it's Motherwell, it's Dundee, then it's Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final. Yeah, he needs to get 6 points out of the 2 league games. That's something he'll be putting across to the players this week. Getting them in the bag and then concentrating on the semi-final against Celtic, which is going to be a tough one. But listen, they've shown certainly the last few months that they can come down to Glasgow
get results.
Yeah, okay. Just a mention for Motherwell, it was a good win over St Johnstone. They are more than capable of going up there with the young players they have. I noticed that Keith Lasley was talking in the papers about the fact that he was part of a young group of players that all went on to bigger and better things. They've got a crop now. You know, I don't see Jake Hastie moving to the MLS as has been suggested. I think his best years, couple of years in Scotland, and then move on to a really big club.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, you know, obviously what happens at the end of the season, because there will be scouts being at the Motherwell games with the form that he's been in. So it'll just be a matter of time to see if anybody bites and at what price they bite at, and whether Motherwell think they need to take the money to obviously rebuild for next year.
Yep. Okay then, thank you very much to Ruffy and Barry Ferguson. More often than not, so many of us are watching what Ruffy wears on the show, but I think he deserves a special mention for just being consistent, whereas Barry decided today, somehow this morning he got up, looked through his wardrobe, everything was clearly in the wash, and he decided, Ruffy, to bring out a Jason King polo neck from 1972, and it was just so wrong.
I thought we were going to get a box of milk tea each.
And there are other good boxes of chocolates as well, may I add.
Listen, I'll bet you any money in a couple of weeks Ruffy will be pulling this off.
Yeah.
Not on that side.
Not on that side. Thanks for watching.
Expect the best used car deals guaranteed. Visit arnoldclark.com.